Well,
The thing.
yeah.
Good, you know, up, you can find a border, so, I feel like my life also has been self-made. I wasn't a student that studied political science. I was a 60s child, and we were all very political. And I moved to San Francisco. My first job was at the Haight-Ashbury Medical Clinic, which was, you know, a place that was converting from flower children to hard drugs. And I invented myself like Carole did. I was a CETA worker, and suddenly I realized I could organize things better. We should get funding. It was for gay people. The first operation concern was a clinic that offered outpatient psychiatric treatment to lesbians and gay men. And that was his specialty. We're going back to 1979 or 1980. Now we say those words with ease. We also incorporate a community as an LGBT community or larger. We have a right to marry. We fought battles and won something we couldn't even for a scintilla of a moment imagine that the world would change thusly. So we were providing psychiatric services, and this gentleman whom you see, who's very well presented with a beautiful voice and should have done late night, right? FM radio, talk show, night bird, all and he sat on the board of directors, assumed a very important role. And one of the things, and Carol's talking about the United Way, and something I counsel a lot of people who run nonprofit agencies, is to try to get into the United Way, apply, because it's money that comes back every year. And it sounds kind of hokey, but if you run, I know you're involved in a shelter, and there are a lot of programs here locally for residents, and people are required at the work site to get to the United Way. And I knew that if we could cash in a little bit on that money, then my clinic would stay open years on end. And I ran into a gentleman who was running for office who knocked on my door and asked my vote, and his name was Harvey Milk. And I voted for Harvey, and I called him up when he was in office and said, I want to get this clinic into the United Way. You realize in the United States of America there's not one program for lesbians and gay men funded with $1 of United Way money. And it's in 50 states, and these really, at that time, really very vigorous campaigns, and you'd have a work captain, and you had to give, and the boss was watching, and it was really kind of compulsory. And Harvey said, I'm going to stop that. I can change that. I have power now. I'm going to force them to amend their ways. And we called this enormous round table of people who'd never even heard the words lesbian, gay, or something. And that was a time pre-HIV when gay men were being picked up in paddy wagons for hanging out in bars late at night. Even in San Francisco, you know, Madam Pacific Heights was where that as well. So Harvey did do that, and he accomplished that. And one of the things about him was he came out as a mature, older man. He was a successful stockbroker. He came from Woodmere, New York. He was very articulate, sure of himself, and thought when he came to San Francisco he couldn't believe that he was in this playground of loveliness of people. And he used his skills and his wherewithal to instruct and teach all of us who were disempowered, vulnerable, not terribly confident, to follow his lead. And what he said all the time was, Malcolm, I'll tell you who you are. And then people who know people aren't as afraid of people. Now, Carole knows that there's a movie on the subject in that I'm very proud of. It's called Political Animals, and it involves me and 3 other women who were the first lesbian legislators to serve in California's state assembly and senate. And I compare a lot of our ascendancy to the fact that HIV had claimed a lot of our boys who were sick. And much like World War II, when men went to war, women went to work in factories. So we women rose up in their stead, and we became politicians, and we went there to make sure there was rapid HIV testing, make sure that there was medicine, make sure that attention was paid, make sure there was research, make sure that people understood the relationship between T cells and viral load and all the things that became common parlance this day that I couldn't dissect. And of course, as women, we were the ones who should brook the gap first. We were easier for men to take. They liked women. In those days, I had pumps, and I had a pink suit, looked like $1 million, and the guy said, and women together are like school marms to men. So, as a team, and we were 4 women and diverse, one Sheila Kuehl, and she was once in a TV show called Dobie Gillis. I don't know if it resonates, a long time ago. And another woman, school board member, who'd been part of the original Student for Democracy movement with Mario Savo in Cal, University of Berkeley, when the first student movements began to evolve. She'd been arrested. She'd come from a very leftist Jewish family. And the 4th was a San Diego woman, and I understand why I didn't warm to her too much, Carole, but she was tall and moderate, and the guys liked her. So together we made the soup and the sauce. And my first bill was to establish a registry to say, are there people who are same-sex that want to get married? All the information was anecdotal. There was no evidence. We created a bill and begged, and we got 41 votes. And I had to beg my friends to download a form from the state, or mail in money, and it didn't really give you any rights. And they said, why am I doing this? Well, I have to make a case. Please do it for me. Well, after a year, there were some 15,000, 20,000 people that had registered. So we were able to go and say that we are, we're taxpayers. We support the schools, we support the libraries, we support the kids, we're part of the community. We pay our taxes. And it's much the way that San Francisco got used to the large gay migration. Now, San Francisco was always a blue-collar working class town of Irish and Italians, ship repair, Navy. And at first, the arrival of the Great Migration, put some people off. But then the city began to realize that gay people were good and gentle and good neighbors, paid taxes, earned money, paid their bills, painted their houses, fixed up the neighborhood, walked ladies across the street when they needed it. Maybe their pants were a little too tight in some places, that's true. But in all other measure, we're good citizens. And again, it was a Catholic closed town. And I think by our presence and just living among, next to each other, with those values being expressed, led to an openness and a fascination. And I tell people today, if you ever want to look at a search engine as to what people read, you just put the word gay in it, and I promise you, it tops it over the charts. Whether it's antagonistic, whether it's fascination, whether it's, I think that's something I want to know more about, it sparkles, and it always has. So this movie is about what were the baby steps that led to the United States Supreme Court 2 years ago affirming the right of same-sex marriage. And frankly, I didn't think in my lifetime we'd create that kind of significant social but legal revolution. Because one learns as a lawmaker, you want to make change, you have to change the law. And then the next thing you try to do is get them to enforce the law. The first bill we did, additionally to domestic partner, was about student bullying. Now that's a big issue today still, and cyberbullying, and what happens to kids in schoolyards, and is there exclusivity and torment. And we tried to advance and were successful eventually, Ms. Jewell, in allowing for certain protections of gay kids in schools so they could study and not be taunted, so that they weren't singled out, so if they didn't play sports, they weren't necessarily stigmatized. And what to me is very rewarding is to see that there's still a percolation of some of the same issues that still need tackling. It's almost like certain things don't go away. We develop an internet, and that's terrific, except people don't gather as much as we're doing like right here tonight. And when Carl talked about his life and the different volunteer and professional involvements he had, I was touched because everything about today's culture is to sort of be at home in your pajamas alone. And it used to be you go to a quilting bee or community center or ways that people talk. You also break down class. If a rich guy wants to buy his wife a piece of jewelry, he goes to the department store and he talks to the sales lady. Well, she's not earning that much money and he's a rich guy. You get a special lane now if you want to pay more for a car. So what we've done is created all these segregations of class that I think have in many ways accelerated a lot of the problems that we see evidenced in our country today. So, of course, the internet is fabulous and what it allows us, but we're all trying to Google in a minute just to find out some information. But I believe it is very important to continue to try to assemble, to hold meetings together, either potlucks or book clubs or discussions and conversations. To be grammatically correct is something to try to achieve, but the community is important to achieve. And we sometimes look sighted people who need help and might need our help, but we know something when we're with them. We can tell. Maybe you're not feeling that well today. What can I do for you? How can I help assist you? So I'm very proud that I was an on-the-job trainee to become a politician. When I was a little girl, I thought I'd own a pet store. And I had no real preparation other than I had a degree of moxie and wasn't afraid of men. And I don't know what formula made that, but I wore my heels so I could look them in the eye. And I learned to speak. I remember my first speech, and I had a prompter, and I was speaking, and I got caught, and I got frozen, and my friend who was prompting me said, "And." I said, "I don't need and. I need thought. Give me the thought that I can do the speech. I don't need the connection that I'm going to be fined for." So I can say that it is acquired by just doing it, like so much in life. That led to my ability to speak in public, and I hope that you get a chance to see the film, because what is so terrific about the film is that we, the legislators, were getting insulted and badgered by the Republican members of the House, saying ugly things like that's like bestiality, or that's just necrophilia. I mean, really, you can't even imagine the depth of depravity of the remarks. So we had to pipe up and speak without preparation. We didn't have notes. We didn't think someone was going to say that we're necrophiliacs, for God's sake. We didn't know what to say. And it's almost like a mother having the strength to pick up the back of a Volkswagen when their baby's hungry. We rose. We rose to the moment. We rose to the demand, and we articulated our voices. Unprepared, each in our own personality, each in our own way. And that's constituted a good portion of the film, and the purpose of the film is, one, to talk about the history, but more importantly, it's to inspire young people to get involved. That you can change things, and you do get smacked down 2 or 3 times, and you get up, and keep getting up. And there is sort of a blaseness or an ennui, and I'm not really sure if some of the young people are just terrific. Often many of them have been sheltered and they don't do as well. So what we hope this film does, and it will be part of Rock the Vote on the Millennial Channel, TV channel, is to have young people get involved in a political process or get involved in life, making changes with dissatisfaction. I hate that word, whatever. So Carl, and what I say is our friendship has maintained itself because of his extraordinary qualities, and I think the way we touched each other very closely in a profound way many, many years ago. So thank you for inviting me tonight.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Please say the name of the film again.
Political Animals,
Okay.
and I'm going to Carl, I have it's a 2-minute trailer. I can email to folks to just take a look-see.
Great.
If you have a little list, should I just email you?
Email me and I'll send it out.
Where is it available on?
Well, right now, it's going the film festival route.
Okay, great.
And it'll be next year on video on demand. What we're doing with it also is, it's an 1.5-hour feature, is we're breaking it down to an hour for educational distribution, and that's very exciting. Because high schools and university are interested in the film. California now has a law that says gay history has to be taught from 2nd grade on. And so, imagine, so textbooks are being written. So our target, I just finished with this, MGM wanted to buy it, they'd run it for 3 days, then it would disappear. We wanted to keep it so we could sell it to educators, so to have life, and young people would watch it and understand and hopefully be enthralled. So I'll let you know what the final disposition will be, but we're very excited. We've been to about 15 cities.
Great, congratulations.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.